Welcome to another blog post kitchen reading. Today I'm going to be doing a post from the 14th of April 2024. It's titled Cognition, Black Rain, When a Tree Falls, Fritjof, I, You. And you should definitely check out the post on my website so that you can click on all the hyperlinks and learn even more about all of the subject matter here. Okay, here we go. What happens when you realize that there is nothing left but understanding? Cognition is defined by Cambridge Cognition as the mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and the senses. This is the most commonly understood and applied definition of cognition. What if it was so much more? I've been volunteering as a study group leader for the Spring 2024 CAPRA course. I named my study group Cognition, wanting to highlight the Santiago theory, cognition as explored and defined by H. Maturana, and as Fritjof Capra has embraced it in his systems view of life. I will return to this definition a little later. A little about Fritjof. Some of you may know about Fritjof. He is a physicist who is amongst the first people of international renown to have challenged the mind-body dualism of the Cartesian theory of mind and matter as applied in scientific thought and practice. He did something very brave. He dared to suggest that there are complementarities between Western science and Eastern mysticism. You may know his book, The Tower of Physics, an exploration of the parallels between modern physics and Eastern mysticism, 1975. The focus of the book is explained in the title. I will brag that I have met him, and at 84, he's an incredible actor in service of life with insight that has much relevant application to the here and now. From the challenges of current perceptions of so-called artificial intelligence and the need to recognize the distinct uniqueness of biological intelligence as emergent of evolutionary interactions, that is, not cultivated or designed through human interference, to supporting regenerative, autopoietic development of living systems. He recognized that ideas of the duality of mind and matter, that is, René Descartes' I think, therefore I am, which underpins our current global civilization, and the belief that we are or are like machines, and therefore merely the sum of our parts, are not accurate reflections of the relationship between mind and matter. Through decades of research, he has recognized that fundamentally, mind and matter exist in an interplay, that is, relations, of structure and process within the inter and intra-connected biological, ecological, social, and cognitive domains of life, with life as emergent, beyond Cartesianism. That's recognizing that what is emergent is not a part of something that can be swapped out, designed. It is a unique result of the interplay between, within. It arises. It is brought forth. Many of us would have heard the philosophical question, if a tree falls in the forest and there is no one to hear, does it make a sound? If we use the definition of sounds as vibrations in the air, and hearing as the process of those vibrations touching an eardrum, the sensation being processed by the brain and the person, then experiencing this as sound. The experience is hearing the sound. We can recognize hearing sound, hearing those vibrations as emergent. The perception of, the experience of, the understanding of is emergent of the interplay between structure and process. We are more than the sum of our parts. Billions of years of evolution involving the structural coupling of elements and molecules, and in the formation of cells in our planet's atmosphere, etc., the emergence of life from autopoietic, that is self-organizing and regenerative, interconnected, interdependent, and intraconnected complex systems, social, biological, ecological, and cognitive. Life as emergent is an interplay of process and structure. Through this interplay arises cognition, a binding emergent phenomenon. For Maturana and his then student Francisco Varela, cognition is integral to the process of life itself. They found that, open quote, living systems are cognitive systems, and living as a process is a process of cognition. This statement is valid for all organisms with or without a nervous system, end quote. It is worthwhile to also see Fritjof's paper, The Systems View of Life, a Unifying Conception of Mind, Matter, and Life. Here we have a scientific theory which suggests that a brain isn't even necessary for cognition to occur, that the interplay of the process of life itself gives rise to connectivity in totality of all of life as one. In the Philosophical Foundations of Neuroscience, second edition by M.R. Bennett and PMS Hacker, the humor of the initials PMS is not lost on me, no. They note the mereological fallacy in neuroscience that, open quote, mereology is the logic of part-whole relations. The neuroscientist's mistake of ascribing to the constituent parts of an animal attributes that logically apply only to the animal as a whole, end quote. They offered the example that, open quote, human beings, but not their brains, let alone the hemispheres of their brains, can be said to be thoughtful or thoughtless. Animals, but not their brains, let alone the hemispheres of their brains, can be said to see or not see. People, but not their brains, can be said to be decisive or indecisive, end quote. In the book, The Systems View of Life, a Unifying Vision, cognition, according to the Santiago theory, is noted as, open quote, not a representation of the world, but a continual bringing forth of a world through the process of living, end quote. We experience being human through the process of living as human beings, not because of the putting together of our biological parts. Think now about all that you perceive and experience, including your own reflective consciousness of I. Consider the embodied mind. Capra and Luisi, in the Systems View of Life, following on the work of Francisco Varela, offer, open quote, recent studies in cognitive linguistics indicate strongly that human reason does not transcend the body, as much of Western philosophy has held, but is shaped crucially by the detailed nature of our bodies and brains and by our bodily experience. The very structure of reason arises from our bodies and brains, end quote. They provide this elaboration, open quote, that language was originally embodied in gesture together with human consciousness. According to Roger Fouts, early hominids communicated with their hands and developed the skill of precise hand movements, both for gestures and for making tools. Speech would have evolved later from the capacity for syntax, an ability to follow complex pattern sequences in the making of tools, in gesturing, and in forming words, end quote. Concluding that in, open quote, this new science of cognition, mind, and matter no longer appear to belong to two separate categories, but can be seen as representing two complementary aspects of the phenomenon of life, process and structure, at all levels of life, beginning with the simplest cell. Mind and matter, process and structure, are inseparably connected, end quote. Thus, the answer to the question, what is cognition, must arise from understanding knowledge and the knower through the latter's capacity to know. H. Maturana. How connected are you to the ever-present experience of cognition? That is, the experience of you as emergent of the process of life. Let me know what you think of all that I've expressed in here. Send me a message, write a comment. Thanks for coming.